Hey, you're here with Ben, and it's no secret that I'm in love with the Bavarian countryside. From the mountains, meadows, and gorges, there's so much to do that it can feel truly overwhelming. Today, I want to show you Near From Home's best of Garmisch Partenkirchen. However, I want to do things a little different. Unlike most videos covering this amazing town, I'm not going to focus on the beautiful streets, the muraled buildings, or the delicious, hearty food. That's the norm and not the exception, but nonetheless, Garmisch Partenkirchen is special. But its true greatness is not what you'll find in the town, but everything you'll find surrounding it. So get out your notepad because you're going to want to write these down. And as a bit of fun, just like my last trip compilation, Summer Day Trips from Munich, I'm going to order these trips from most to least obvious. So stick around to the end and see how long you can keep up. Are you going to know all of them, or will I still have some surprises in here for you? I'm sure I will. And of course, let me know how well you do in the comments below. I expect all of you out there to know my first suggestion, as we're starting this list off at the top, the very top of Germany, by visiting the tallest mountain on our side of the border, the Zugspitze. And I know, it's a bit obvious, but how could I not include it? Traveling to this lofty peak is incredible, and even though it is rather expensive, I've taken plenty of people up here, and no one has ever regretted it. Often, it's one of the highlights of the trip. The Zugspitze was also our third ever video, so I might be biased with a little bit of nostalgia. But hey, even though we've made 78 more videos since then, I still wholly stand by the Zugspitze as an excellent suggestion. But before we get to the top, let's start at the bottom. Unlike most mountain peak visits throughout the Alps, the Zugspitze can be accessed by two record-breaking and historical modes of transportation. The first being an adorably classic cogwheel train that takes passengers along the rolling foothills before cutting up and through the mountain itself. Naturally, it's a bit of a slow climb, taking nigh on 45 minutes. But for those with a fear of heights or who might struggle with quickly acclimatizing to shifts in altitude, then it's a godsend, making this mountain that much more accessible to everyone. The second way up though, that is not for the faint of heart, as this is the world's longest spanning unsupported cable car, a triumphant feat of true German engineering, a mantra that I often repeat to calm myself down on the way up. And even though I've been up it quite a few times now, I still marvel each and every time at how this massive cable car whips up the mountain in mere moments. Blink and you'll miss it, or keep your eyes closed on purpose and it'll be over soon, reducing that almost hour-long cogwheel ride into 10 theme park-worthy minutes. No matter how you get to the top though, once you're up here, you're going to be greeted with what can only be described as a real-life Bond villain lair, that in addition to some obvious jaw-dropping views and photos to be had, also houses the Panorama 2962 restaurant, ready to serve you some hearty Bavarian food provided by Del Meyer, a ritzy Munich-based delicatessen. Any fan of the channel by now knows I've had plenty of great beers with stunning views in my time, and this is one of the best. Another one of my favorite activities at the top though is visiting Austria. Yeah, that's right. You can cross that invisible border right up here at the peak, crossing from country to country somewhere roughly around this bridge. It's a rather anticlimactic affair nowadays with Europe's open border policy, but back before that, you used to need to get your passport stamped up here if you wanted to see both sides. And as if all of that wasn't enough, there is one more world worth exploring while you're up here, the Zugspitze Glacier. Connected to the peak with a mini gondola whose ticket price is already included with your main ride up, you can descend to an otherworldly skiing area, complete with yet another restaurant that has lovely outdoor seating, Germany's highest church, which is just a stunning location for pictures, and of course, plenty of skiing. Personally, I'm atrocious at winter sports, but even I had a ton of fun renting a toboggan and racing my friends. Now, most guides would stop right here and call it a job well done. They'd pat themselves on the back and go home. But believe it or not, I have one more gem up here that I need to show you. So comment, share, and subscribe if you like guides that try to do a little bit more than waste your time by regurgitating just TripAdvisor. As even when discussing such obvious suggestions as this mountain, there's always a hidden gem to be found. It's time I show you The Igloo Hotel, the hidden ice palace and bar that no one seems to be talking about. Just keep walking past the highest church a little further and you'll come across a very unassuming pile of snow, at least from the outside. On the inside though, it's an ice carving paradise, and I kid you not, the entire hotel is indeed made of snow. And you can rent a room up here for what must be an unimaginable evening. For those of us not staying through the night though, they do have an outdoor bar that is, in my opinion, the best place to get a drink on the Zugspitze. It's peaceful and quiet, far away from the crowds dining the more traditional establishments, and the ice castle novelty is just a brilliant bonus. I've been wanting to do a video staying overnight in this hotel for years, but Camille is a little afraid of the cold, even though the igloo comes with a sauna and plenty of blankets. So comment below your support if you'd like to see that, share the channel with your friends, get them to comment, because if there is enough interest, Camille has promised to be brave, and we will do a whole video about what it's like to sleep atop Germany's highest peak. With all that said and done, I'm sure I've sufficiently hooked you on taking this trip. But if you still have questions or want to see some first-hand experiences, then consider checking out my full guide after this video, of course. Be warned though, it is one of the first videos we ever made, so please be kind. The pacing and editing can be a little bit rough, but it's still got plenty of information to help you plan your trip. My next suggestion should equally come as a little surprise. Eagle-eyed viewers out there will have even spotted it in the Zugspitze's B-roll, as all trips to the mountaintop include a bonus for those with time in their schedules. We're talking about Lake Eibsee. Considered the most beautiful lake in Bavaria, it's no surprise nor even a letdown why. Nestled so tightly into the foothills, you can feel the mountain peak looming over you as you walk the shore. It too, gazing into the crystal clear water as it perfectly reflects the scene back to the beholder. I mean, I bet you didn't even realize that this picture is actually upside down. So clearly it's no lie when I say that you can get lost in the vertigo of its waters, creating a shoreline equally outfitted with swimmers and photographers alike. You can circumnavigate the whole lake too on well-maintained paths, which I'd highly recommend doing, with quieter beaches ready for a picnic on the southern side and blindingly beautiful scenes on the northern shore. Clearly then, it's no wonder why so many people come here. However, how do they get here? Now, most will arrive by car or tour bus, my personal least favorite modes of transport. The studious among you will come by the Zugspitze's cogwheel train, a fine choice, squeezing in the lake before or after you visit the mountain. But for me and Camille, we arrived by bicycle, disconnecting our visit to the lake from that of the mountain, accomplishing them on separate days and giving both activities far more room to breathe. And in doing so, we let the incredible Bavarian countryside take our breath away. Riding from farm to town to field and more, I've never had such a diverse ride in such a short amount of time. And for the rest of my days, I will never forget just how beautiful and how much fun that ride was with Camille. So often I find that we travel too quickly. We speed by what we might consider to be the minutiae in search of the best X, the most Y. See the peak, see the lake, get going, move on, and in doing so, I think you miss out on the pure charms that can only be found when taking things a little slower. So if you're staying in Garmisch Partenkirchen, which, I mean, this video pretty much assumes that you are, then consider renting an e-bike, taking some side paths, and letting yourself get a little lost in between the main events. And naturally, you know I've got a full Eibsee biking guide to help you out. I really hope you guys are enjoying the video so far. If so, please do give it a like, and honestly, consider sharing it around, telling your friends, and being a part of growing the Near From Home community. As a tiny channel, it can be pretty difficult to get that early traction here on YouTube, so anything you can do to help really means the absolute world to us both. Now for suggestion number 3, Partnachlam. The famous mountain gorge, naturally carved by the mighty Partnach River, it's an incredible space and is a smidge more obscure than the last 2 suggestions, though I bet my loyal subscribers will have heard all about this one, as they're always in the know. But even if you have heard this name before, do you know all that it has to offer? Because as always, there's more than meets the eye. However, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and start with the basics, getting to Partnachlam Gorge. Well, it all starts with a lovely wander through Partenkirchen, past its muraled buildings, then out along little meadow paths that couldn't be more quaint, past the old 1936 Winter Olympic ski jump, as you do, until finally you'll notice the mountain walls sharply narrowing and the temperature plummeting. We must be close now. Our once gentle alpine stream's secretive whispers have been replaced with the mighty roar of the powerful river. The end of the line, though, comes with a paywall, as our gorge has an entrance fee. It'll cost you €6 to enter, and my recommendation is to not even blink at the cost, as it's totally worth it. This is next level fun as our path is hewn into the cliff itself. Cold water spraying and splashing around everywhere, the river carving ever deeper into our path. The sound is incredible. You can barely hear yourself think, let alone communicate with anyone around you. Make sure to take your time walking through this gorge though. You only get one go and no one is keeping track of how long you spend watching the rushing mountain water. So enjoy it, take your time. There are so many openings in the rocks to watch the forces of nature unfold below you, peer through them all, and snap a few pictures too. Just make sure to not drop your camera, because it'll never come back. Now, as all good things do, this too must come to an end. Specifically when you come out of the other side of the gorge and enter into a wonderful alpine forest. You'll see the river begin to calm down, and there are some truly lovely spots to chill and relax. Maybe even warm yourself back up under that summer sun. However, my favorite thing to do is to hike up the marked trails for about 15 minutes to the Kaiserschmarrn Alm, perched just above the gorge. Hiking through Partnachlam and then back up and over is an absolute treat. Even if hiking isn't your thing, you need to try this. It's 100% worth it. Counterbalancing all of these amazing views with each other to get a complete picture of this alpine wonderland is worthy of any bucket list. And topping this day off with delicious mountain food and a few cold beers, it is perfection. And it isn't even the cherry on top, as I like to round this all off with a cheeky gondola ride back down the mountain in what can only be described as a flying bucket. A truly harrowing and fantastic end to the day. The cable car technically belongs to the Das Grasek Hotel, but anyone can ride it. Just make sure to have some cash on you when you pay the toll back on the valley floor. There's no ticket machine up top, so you could be fooled into thinking it's free when it's not. And I have no idea what happens if you ride all the way down and can't pay. Perhaps they send you back up so you have to walk back down in punishment. Now, naturally, there are of course tons of gorges dotted around the Alps, even a few more in Garmisch itself. I mean, all this snow melt has to go somewhere. However, no matter how many gorges there may be, this one is tied for first in my heart. Partly because it's great, and partly out of nostalgia. I've been to Partnachlam plenty of times over the years, though a few key visits really stand out. It was here by pure coincidence that I met up with some acquaintances who would later become great friends of mine. And last year, I did my very first ever near.fromhome meetup in this very gorge, where I toured a group of locals and tourists alike through the windy passageways and up the hills for a wonderful beer, making this perhaps my most truly tried and tested day trip of them all. And so far, it's been nothing but smiles, a real crowd pleaser, making it incredibly easy for me to recommend it to you at home. Which is exactly why I love making these trip compilations. I've spent so much time planning itineraries and putting them to the test that it just means the world getting to share them with you at home, as I really want to help you have amazing vacations and go on some excellent day trips. Often I find that travel content ends up being a bit too much about the people who made it, beautifully shot and personal home movies. But I want this channel to be different. I want it to be about you guys. There is nothing that makes my day brighter than when I receive comments from you at home when you've tried out one of my suggestions and have had an amazing day. Or even better, when you come out having tried a new hobby or adventure and you're now just as hooked on Kessel ruins as I am. And speaking of trying out a new hobby, my fourth suggestion is Vank Mountain, an easy yet rewarding beginner's mountain summit. I mean, okay, it's not exactly easy, but insofar as we're summiting an alpine mountain, then yeah, it kind of is easy. As you can hike straight from the center of town, through those windy village streets, up the difficult but not too difficult slopes of Mount Vank, until finally you're greeted by the Vank House and Vank Peak. Now, absolutely hilarious names aside, may I suggest always using the German pronunciation to maintain a straight face, I have always framed this as a great beginner's hike, and I stand by it. With 1,000 meters of elevation gain, this probably shouldn't be your first hike. But if you're in the Alps and you want to start pushing yourself further and earn your first alpine cross, then this is a brilliant place to start. With excellent food at the Mountain Peak restaurant and naturally stunning views, you're going to be well rewarded for the effort and sweat that it takes you to get up here. However, what makes this hike so accessible for first-timers is the 2-stage cable car. This gives you so much flexibility in how you can tackle Mount Vank. And it'll always be there for you if you need a safety net too, which is something that cannot be so easily said for all the other hikes I've been going on lately. I mean, it's pretty rare for you to be able to opt in or opt out of any given hiking section like this. You can even change your mind on the fly, take it if you need it, skip it if you don't, it's perfect. Which for those of us dipping our toes into alpine hiking, that flexibility can provide a whole lot of peace of mind. Myself, I hiked all the way up the mountain, crushing both sections, and I had a wonderful, well-earned meal at the summit. However, I saw many people taking the cable car, and, well, I mean, at times I was a little bit jealous. Then, after I'd had my fill, to save some time and, check it out for you guys at home, I mean, I wasn't tired at all, I took the cable car halfway back down the mountain, which really helped prove my point as me and Camille hiked back down the rest of the way, which allowed me to test out this flexibility firsthand as we then hiked down the rest of the way, which means I can indeed confidently say that you can mix and match this hike as you see fit. It really is that easy. There is, however, a little bit of a snag. You need to make sure that you set off pretty early in the morning, as in typical Bavarian fashion, the restaurant and cable car closed, to my mind, ridiculously early. Literally at 4:30 p.m, even in the middle of summer. It's insanity. They don't worry too much and don't feel beholden to the cable car either. You might just find that you don't really need it, as this is definitely not the wildest hike you could get up to in Garmisch Partenkirchen. No matter how tame it might be though, I still find this hike effortlessly charming nonetheless. Between the quaint towns, alpine forest paths, cow-filled pastures, and impressively lofty ridge walks, not to mention the great food and beer, what isn't there to love? I just hope you have better luck than I did when I came across a dangerous alpine viper.
And the hike, though it is continuing in... Oh no, Camille, it's happened. There's a snake. Oh, Camille, there's a snake here. I'm looking at a snake. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Don't worry, I'm just kidding. That thing was completely harmless. I am, however, hopelessly afraid of snakes, so that freakout was actually genuine. But dangerous monsters aside, I hope I've convinced you to give summiting an alpine mountain a go, and I hope you consider Mount Vank, for which I naturally have a full guide if you feel so keen. Now lastly, I have 2 suggestions in one. And if you're feeling a little disappointed, if you've known everything so far, you're craving something more obscure, then buckle up, because none of you out there will have ever heard of this one. Which is hilarious really, because it's hiding in plain sight. Oh, how many of you must have looked right through it time and time again. As next up, we're talking about Werdenfels Castle, a stunning ruined fortification on the outskirts of Garmisch that is slowly being reclaimed by the forest it once protected. Situated on a bare, rocky outcropping, Werdenfels Castle is completely visible from the train, which runs once per hour between Munich and Garmisch, the Werdenfels Bahn, which shares its name. So it's nary a lie when I say that perhaps tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have looked out of their windows and missed the castle for the trees. But not when you're traveling with me. I will always point them them out. It's sort of a compulsion. However, before I take you on inside for an epic picnic, let's talk transport, which is where our 2-for-1 suggestion really begins to shine, as there are 2 ways of getting here. The first is leaving from Garmisch town centre, through the lovely Keur Park, and out into the meadows. And I kid you not, the first time I walked these fields, I legitimately had to stop myself in pure wonder, to soak in the views with no other distractions and just gaze for a while. Camille even commented that it was the quietest I'd been in years. But the walk isn't over yet, and there's so much more to discover. Such as my second way of getting here, hiking from freshspringham, the oft-forgotten town just 1 train stop above Garmisch, and I love it there. Though few people seem to visit. I think I might have even been one of 5 people to disembark, the rest of the train just continuing on, missing out. Meaning, their loss is our gain, and if you're looking for a break from the other tourists, then this is your answer. Most notably, freshspringham has hiking trails accessible to all skill levels, from basic beginner with no elevation gain, to steep, rocky walkways tempting you up the trail with the promise of incredible viewpoints and ice-cold waterfalls. And as amazing as those falls are, I think it's about time we finally get to that castle as promised. With only 100 meters of elevation gain, this trail is completely doable, even by people who might be less than enthusiastic about hiking. It's high enough that you get a great view from the ramparts, but not so high that you actually needed to work for it. The walls of the castle still tower impressively above, with bygone doors and windows dotted about all over. Once you enter the main gate, you'll be greeted by one of my favorite picnic spots in all of Bavaria. Though perhaps unsurprisingly, it's not even my #1 pick for best Bavarian lunch in a castle ruin. I've got a long list of those, and if you want to know the absolute best of the best, well, you'll need to watch my top summer day trips from Munich video. And loyal fans of the channel, comment below if you know which ruin I'm alluding to. After lunch, exit the ruin on its southern side to be shown a stunning view of the valley from whence we came and must soon sadly depart back to. And honestly guys, I think that's gonna have to about do it for this video. Getting to share these amazing sights with you has been a pleasure. Reminiscing over so many of the amazing trips I've got to experience all in this one town, well, it's really opened my eyes up to how many times I've visited Garmisch. I knew it was a lot, but damn, I have really wrung this town dry. Which is only appropriate because this town is fantastic. I've seen a lot of people scoff and turn their nose up at Garmisch, offering half-baked opinions after never really trying, which has always irked me. I get not wanting to appear like everyone else, but sometimes things that are great are just great, as is Garmisch Partenkirchen. Sure, the first few suggestions I had for you will be mobbed by tourists, for good reason, but I've done my itinerary research firsthand and shown you some secluded and quiet options too. I really hope in the end that I did have some surprises for you. If so, comment below what they were. I'm really curious. And did you know about the Igloo Hotel or Werdenfels Castle? If so, also comment below because, well, I think we should be friends. You've got great taste. And now that you're in the know, I hope you can get out there and make some great memories of your own in these exceptional places. This channel really is about you, after all. Naturally then, if you're looking for something else to watch, may I suggest one of the many full-length guides that I've made on these day trips over the years, where you'll get a much more in-depth, on-location perspective and even more beautiful footage. Please consider also liking this video if it's helped you out, comment with your support of a tiny channel, subscribe, and most importantly, maybe consider sharing it around with your friends and family. As a tiny channel looking to grow, it helps so much. We can't exactly rely on the algorithm, but I can rely on you at home, so help out if you can. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, no matter where that might be.